What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Groomer podcast. I'm your host, Alex, and today's guest is someone who's proving that when you combine passion, creativity, and strong business intentions, good things happen. I'm joined today by Heidi McRannells, founder of the Colorful Canine in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. In just 1 year, her shop has gone from brand new to thriving, booked many months in advance. And they are known for their creative grooming. So I wanted to bring Heidi on today to talk about the business of creative grooming. So Heidi, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Okay, so Heidi, I want to start with one thing that caught my eye when you and I were initially talking here is in your little bio that I make you submit, you said that the best piece of advice you got when you were starting a new business was to open correctly, not just open and figure things out later. I want to start there because I thought that was really interesting. And given the fact that your business started a year ago, right?
Yep.
A year ago, talk to me a little bit about, what that actually means.
Yeah. So really, there's a couple different directions that goes. One of them is pay structure. I wanted to make sure that, I've worked for 3 different salons, and it's really easy to just say, oh, this is just how I'll pay my staff, and it's just how I've been paid everywhere else. But that really just doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you don't know what your income is, what you're going to pay yourself as an owner, what your expenses are, all of those things. You got to think about your expenses and then what you're charging and what your charging relates to everyone else in your area. So there's just a lot of factors there. And one of the biggest things when I had gone to a few seminars was that there's a big transition right now that's also highly debated that, commission versus hourly. That's like a huge thing right now. And it really all just falls down to...
I'm sure everyone listening is just sitting there shaking their heads like, oh, yeah, no, I know.
Yep.
Here we go.
And so one of the biggest things is I when I was out at, I went to Hershey and I took a few classes. I also had a mentor that wasn't there. And I had a few different people tell me, like, just don't do commission. It's not feasible for just our environment and how we operate. So I kind of went to work. I figured all of this out. I already wrote my whole business plan for my loan, and I figured all of this out like a month before I opened. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to change how I do everything. And I did, and I'm glad that I did, because it's so different, but it just makes so much more sense because people just really don't have any idea how much you pay in taxes on your employees until you finally do. So that was one of the biggest ones. The pay.
Okay, because I was going to say we're kind of brushing past this, but we just took like an industry-wide, conversation, and we just summed it down into like...
I know. We could spend this whole podcast. So a lot of like how grooming started was, employees were paid as 1099s, and even hairstylists still do that. But if you're going to have your employees as W-2 employees, you need to not do commission because you end up paying those W-2 taxes on them. And you're leaving your business with less than 50% while your groomers are making more of that profit of the business, if that makes sense.
Got it. That totally makes sense. So somebody explained this to you at Hershey and you're like, uh-oh, like my business plan that I just wrote for commission groomers is not going to work anymore. So you just redid all your math to just include what would happen if I paid my employees hourly versus commission?
Yeah, pretty much. So when I hadn't submitted my business plan yet at the time, and when I was kind of doing everything, taxes are just not my forte. And so, I kind of learn as I go. And so I didn't factor that into like a lot of my expenses because I had no idea how to. And so, which was why I was educating myself along the way, talking to people. And
Totally.
I'm just happy that I did that because that was a really big thing. Another really big thing that I kind of mean when I say, to open up correctly, is I have an employee handbook and I only have two employees and I opened with just myself. And so an employee handbook was super important because that really just like lays out exactly how you operate, exactly what your expectations are for both you and your employees. That's like super important too. There's no gray areas.
Totally. No, I like that. I mean, a lot of this seems like there's this quote out there that's like, um, planning is gosh, I'm gonna butcher this so bad, Heidi. But
That's okay.
planning is worth nothing because planning means you're planning for uh like you're planning for the best of success, right? Versus preparation is you're preparing for chaos. And that's how I kind of view like what, or really the quote is like the difference between planning and preparation is planning is if everything goes right, and preparation is what happens when everything goes wrong. And not like when you start a business everything goes wrong, but there's just so many factors. Like you have employees, you have clients, you've got dogs, you've got everything in the mix there. And so it seems like getting stuff like that, like your employee handbook figured out, and like writing a business plan. I know you had to do that for your loan, but even just the practice of doing that, that's
Yeah.
preparation, right? That's hey, I'm
Yeah.
thinking through what's going to happen when I get employees, right?
Well,
Okay.
yeah. And sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just going
I
to
only
close.
wrote I only wrote the business plan too to get the loan. But I hated it. But I'm really happy that I did it because it really showed me, what things will look like a year ahead, 3 years ahead, 5 years ahead. So that was a really important thing too. I feel like that was worth it.
Totally. And again, it's all like an estimated guess, but just the
Mhm.
thought of thinking through that, it can probably help you set goals and also manage expenses, right? Like out of the gate, you can't go get a lease that's over X amount of dollars, right?
Mhm.
Um, okay, I do want to close the gap here though. Let's connect this all, Heidi, to creative grooming. Okay. So some helpful context that maybe you could help provide me and the rest of our audience. Did you know creative grooming before you started the salon, and why did you want the salon to be focused with creative grooming or towards creative grooming?
Yeah, so I had been doing a little bit of creative grooming. So I've been grooming for 8 years, but I started creative grooming probably 4 years in, so probably 4 years ago. And it was really just like my own dogs, friends' dogs, really just a lot of close clients' dogs. I definitely wasn't charging them at all or appropriately, because it was just all experimenting. Um, when I went to open, I knew the most important thing to set me up for success was finding like a niche. And so there really isn't anything in my area to do creative. And there is now, there is a little bit now, but there's not anybody that has that niche specifically like designated to their shop.
Sure.
And our city that is of Sioux Falls is kind of just getting big enough now to a point where there is getting a little bit more of a market for it. It's definitely not something where obviously in the rural areas that you're finding a lot of people that want to do that or want to spend the money on that. I'm very fortunate to be in an area where we're kind of just getting big enough to do that now. And so I kind of rolled with it. I spent forever trying to think of a name for the shop. And when I got into creative, I was like, you know what? That's perfect to
Yeah.
explain the niche and to have a name for the business. So that was
Okay.
great too.
Now, what I wanted to connect this was with the business planning. Okay.
Mhm.
So I like to tell everybody that listens to the show, everybody knows this by now. I have a little brain. I'm a pea brain. So I need you to explain this to me like I'm 5 years old.
Yeah.
How, when you start the business, and your niche is going to be creative, and that nothing in your market services that, how do you even like start to like, okay, how am I going to price my creative work? What am I going to include in it? Does the market want this? Walk me through. I know we're kind of like still in those early days, but walk me through some of the thoughts, steps, research you did to kind of think about this.
Yeah. So when I opened, I kind of knew most of my market was going to be regular grooming. And we still get a lot of questions on if we even do regular grooming. But I guess So right before I opened in July of last year, and in May of last year, I designated an entire weekend to just coloring and prepping dogs, and I did a huge photo shoot. I think that was like the best thing I did for that. I colored, I think, like 8 dogs. And I found a photographer that she already does dog photography, but not with the white backdrop that I did, and like not as fancy, but I found somebody who at least knew how to work with dogs. And I told her kind of what I was looking for, as far as like the fancy, backdrop and just like color, bougie. And she rolled with it and she did a great job. I think that was the best thing I did, because that really kind of posting those on like our social media really kind of got the word out there, of like what was possible, what we do, what we use, and then just the name. That was like the best thing for sure. To this day, we still have just tons of people that ask about it but aren't sure about it. So
Okay.
it's kind of the rest of the way is just us trying to talk them into it.
That's what I was going to ask about, is like how many of you said a bulk of the salon is still like regular grooming, which makes sense. I think like you would be hard to find a market, like maybe like New York and LA, that you can have all of your clients be creative grooming. But I was wondering if the people that do creative grooming with you guys are a lot of first timers. Some of those folks that are like, okay, I've never done this before, didn't even know this existed, but just curious. What goes into that process? Is there like an education on what it is, and what do they typically ask about?
Yeah, so there's a lot of grooming shops in our area that like don't have websites. And I wouldn't, but I wanted to get as much information that I don't have to answer 1,000 times as I could somewhere. So I do have like literally on our website an entire page dedicated to just color, where it just answers like the most common questions that we have: what's in the products, what it looks like, what it costs, everything. So I do refer a lot of people there. As far as like how frequently we get people in for color, I think the only reason it's slowed down right now is just because we're so booked out. I can't get enough staff in here to keep up with everything, which is great. That's great. But we usually, our color work people now are our regulars, because they just book that when they go to reschedule. Most of the time, we've only been open a year, and I would say our busiest time for colors for sure just at the holidays. We do a lot of holiday colors, like at Christmas time and Halloween. Last year we had a ton of people. There was definitely a pause between January and 4th of July. We did quite a bit for 4th of July. Pink for Valentine's Day, stuff like that. We do a lot of ears and tails. We actually get I would say we get the most people that ask about it when we do like the crazy stuff on our own personal dogs.
Yeah,
Because a lot of people are just like, I want to do something, but I don't know what to do. It's a lot of people that say that. They have no idea if they would like something crazy. They don't, and they just like can't get themselves to come in is the biggest thing.
yeah. And those people that are like, I want to do something, I just don't know what to do. This is going to sound weird, but like, I don't know, like what drives the I want to do something? Just like, oh, that's fun, that's cool. Like I don't know, it's just something fun and different to try up.
Yeah, so in my lobby, I told you how we did that photo shoot.
Yeah.
And in my lobby, I have like all of those pictures hanging around. So people come in, and I think a lot of the time it's pretty 50-50. Some of the people come in and don't even realize that we do color. They just think it's a name. And then they come in and they see all the photos and they're like, oh my God. And a lot of people will see that and they're like, I want to do something that looks so fun.
Okay.
So really it's just the pictures. It's just giving visual stimulation for that, for sure.
Okay. And now let's break down the business side of this. Obviously we can talk about the different styling and stuff like that. But I'm greedy and I want to know about the business economic side of it. Talk to me, Heidi, about how do you guys charge for color versus non-color?
Yeah. So we are all inclusive. So I didn't want to mess with upcharging for all the extras on top of everything else.
Sure.
So we do have we have minimum prices for kind of each category, like your bath, your D-shed, your like thick long hair trim. There's kind of minimum prices for each of those in weight for each category, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a whole separate thing. You have your grooming price. We do require that all people that want creative grooming come in for at least just a regular bath at like without doing color, so we can evaluate the dog and they also just know what they're getting charged aside from color.
Okay.
And then when somebody does want color, it's just a flat hourly rate, and that's added on to like just their regular price. So whether or not they do a haircut or a bath, it's a haircut price or a bath price. But we do have like a timer that we set for when we do our color work, and it's an hourly rate for while we're putting that, while we prep and get everything ready, put that color on. If we have to sit and supervise that dog in color, that timer stops once that gets rinsed, and then it's just the bath price or the haircut price after that.
Okay, got it. Understood. So the color pricing is just done per hour. How long does it typically take? Because I can imagine some designs and some styles are, I was looking on your website, and some are very intricate, and I would imagine took quite a bit longer than the other, maybe just plain color or so be it.
Yeah, and when I actually opened too, I like printed out sheets for every single picture and put price and time for each thing, so people didn't have to ask me for my grand opening. But typically what I tell people is like for just ears and tail, I do a minimum of $35. So we have like a couple of our little dogs who like just want the ears colored or whatever. It's really easy. I can slap it on in 10 minutes. And $35 is just what I charge as a flat for those. Sure. As far as like whole body, typically what I tell people for whole body work is if it's like a little dog, I kind of estimate anywhere between an hour to an hour and a half. But it does totally just depend what they want. For like our larger dogs that want whole body, anywhere between like 1 to 2.5 hours.
Oh, wow.
For whole body work. But it's easier when somebody comes in and kind of tells me what they want. That's usually when I have people that come in and say, oh, I don't know what I want, surprise me. I'm like, okay, well, what's your budget? It's a little easier.
Right, yeah. Before I make your dog look like a giraffe and it takes 3 hours, let me know where you want me to stop here. Okay, absolutely. Totally get it. Honestly, Heidi, it sounds like obviously that's just like especially because you're paying your employees hourly, that's just like a time arbitrage, right? Of I'm going to use fake numbers here, but you might pay your employees $20 an hour for the creative element. It's $40 an hour. Okay, we make $20 an hour profit there, right? Fake numbers. But that's how it seems like you're making money from the creative side of things, aside from the actual grooming, the regular grooming part. But I'm more curious about creative grooming. Again, in my pea brain, it seems like something like that you can either do or you can't do as a groomer. And with the number one problem being in our industry, finding skilled groomers, how do you think about that as a business owner of, hey, now I need to start finding folks that also can do creative grooming? I just took my already minuscule pool of people to choose from and just made it 10 times smaller.
Absolutely. So one thing that's really kind of fun that like we can do with our software and how we book things. So for example, me and Autumn have a lot of color experience. And then I have an employee named Braylee, and she doesn't have any. So typically how I'll start people when they don't have any experience with that is we'll just do the ears and tail work first. If let's say Braylee has a client that's a request that wants something crazy, what we can do is just book that color work on me or Autumn and just say, Braylee doesn't have quite that much experience yet in that area. If you're not comfortable with her testing it out, we can just do the color for me or Autumn, and then we can still have Braylee do the haircut. And we're able to, with our software, kind of split that up that way and time it so that we have openings for each of us for that, if that makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense. I'm curious right now, Heidi, you just sparked another thought in my head. So it seems like you can obviously build your team with people that maybe are not creative experts yet, but want to do ears and tail and learn and kind of, mold into one. So it seems like, maybe we do have options when it comes to our labor pool going forward here.
Mm.
Curious though, with how booked out you are, and we've returned to that a few times here. Does it make sense for you to spend your time doing the creative work versus doing A, either regular grooms, or B, like, I don't know, marketing, hiring, whatever it may be that could use your time outside of that? Like, does the value you make as a business owner from the creative side, is it greater than what you could be doing outside of that?
Um, so that's where I'm like, well, we just opened a year ago. So I have intentions of stepping aside grooming myself. But I just don't have that in my sight until I'm fully staffed, kind of a thing. I have like my part of my business plan is for the business to be fully sustained without me with 4 groomers. Right now there's just 3 of us with me. So it's just kind of slowly developing the staff there. And then I can look at where I do more of the side work myself. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, that was. So right now it's just like, it's all hands on deck.
Yeah,
Gonna
pretty
help out.
much.
Okay, let's even take it even just like in like a one level down then. Do you, as a business owner, make more money charging for creative than you would do for regular groom? Like if you were to have it be apples to apples, and try and math it out here, like does it make more money offering the creative versus the non-creative?
It does, but not by not by enough.
Not by enough, right?
I do need to have just the color work. Since that niche isn't very large in this area, that's the only reason I haven't done it, and it's not even a good enough excuse. It should be higher.
No, but at the end of the day, it does, like, obviously your doors are full for a reason, right? And it does
Yep.
people probably to get that like jaw dropping, like, I haven't done it yet, but like my groomer does crazy stuff, right?
Right.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it probably does get that response. And so that's like, I know that's like intangible, that's not dollars and cents, but it probably still does work for your business, the fact that you offer it, even though it's not making, 100 times more.
Right. Right.
That makes sense. Talk to me. Okay. And sorry, I'll pull back the curtain away a little bit from the creative stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just want to, we don't get a lot of creative owners on. And so I want to
Oh,
explore that area. But let's just go back to like just the regular business. You guys are in your first year. You guys are full books. I'm sure a lot of folks are sitting there in the same boat, but there's also some that are not, or some that want to open up their own business and they're sitting there. How do I get full books?
right.
Is there anything in particular that you did during your prep? And I'm sure there is, to get to this point where you can say, a year after you started, like, yeah, we're like booked up. We're like, I can't get enough people. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things I tell people when I hire them that I think has worked for me the most, honestly, is customer service is like my number one thing. That's the number one thing I look for when I do interviews. I want to know how you interact with me. So I want to know how you interact with my clients. And it's so important because we get so many referrals. We get so many people that refer other people. And I absolutely think that's the number one thing that has set us up. We have people from out of town that were referred by people in town that literally wanted to take a chance driving 3 hours. Like it's crazy. But I absolutely think referrals are the biggest thing. And how we get those referrals is by just having great customer service. Like we have to have those relationships with the people that come in here. It's just simple memory things too, like remembering that they, said that their kids went to college last year. How are the kids in college? Things like that. It doesn't even have to be about the dogs. Like, oh, you noticed they came up in a new car. Oh, you got a new car. How's your new car? Just little stuff. Like just pay attention, that's the biggest thing is just trying to build a relationship with those people. And that's the fastest way that you build your clientele base, get them to reschedule. And when you start booking out, they're like, oh no, and they panic and they have to make 3 appointments because they're scared to lose you. So that's like for sure the biggest thing. I absolutely think that's what set us up so far for success the most.
Love that. How have you been able to manage your time of like, you wear many hats, I would imagine. Not only are
Mm.
you still doing all the creative grooming, but you're doing the marketing, you're building out these handbooks, right? Like you're doing, the day-to-day operations. So how have you been able to manage this all? Have you found a system that works well for you that you would recommend? Or is it just like, oh, Alex, it's all chaos? Like,
Yeah, it's gotten a little better. It was for sure chaotic for a while. I definitely just needed to, because my clientele for myself is so large, and I really just had to do less dogs. And that was rough because it was like I couldn't pick people to take off my schedule. And so just taking it down a notch for myself for the actual grooming is what I just really needed to do. It's still a little out of hand right now for myself. I would like to even go a little less, just because I'm also doing training for another employee right now. So it is a lot. And I would say just trying to cut down your own schedule is such a big thing if you can afford to do it. If I I can afford to do it, but it's just trying to weed people out is not the fun for me.
yeah, no, totally. What's that client handoff look like? I've been coming to you for, I don't know, maybe 3 appointments even since you opened, and maybe it's just that, like maybe I've only known you since you've opened up the salon, but I've still got 3 appointments with you. Fluffy loves you.
Mhm.
I love you because you're the owner. I know you're going to take care of my little Fluffy, and you've realized that, hey, I'm one of these clients, whether it's because of Fluffy or whether it's just random that's got to go and got to get on one of your other staff members' schedule. What's that handoff look like?
Yeah, so typically what I've done is just found the people that want to book out like a year in advance, like they just come first. They're willing to, they want me enough that they're willing to just dedicate that schedule to me for literally an entire year, which is crazy to me because I don't feel like I could ever do that. But so what usually happens then is just that, we start having people that want to book out 3 appointments, and then they want to book out 6 appointments, and then they want to book out a whole 6 months, and then 6 years. So, or 6 years, a year. And then typically we just, as somebody says, I want to rebook 6 weeks from now or 8 weeks from now, I want to make another appointment. And we're full, or maybe we don't have the exact day or the exact time that they have, we just start to tell them like, hey, a lot of our clients are doing this. I highly recommend it, like booking a few appointments out or a year, whatever. And typically you'll have people that are like, oh, I don't want to be that dedicated, or, I can't do that. And so typically those people, it's like, okay, well, all you can say is, well, if you want to try this other person, we can do that. But I just don't have any room in my schedule. And it's really just that simple. It's unfortunate for people, that don't know their whole schedules and stuff, but it's just kind of what you got to do.
I love it. It's like a perfect mix of like hardcore, like I'm drawing a line in the sand, while at the same time understandable of like, oh, I get it. Like, okay, you got to do what you got to do. Like, if I can't commit to you for a year, then it's fair that you can't commit to me for a year,
Yeah.
right?
And you'll have people that are like, oh, well, I guess I'll go find another groomer. And it's like, I understand. That's kind of all you can say.
Totally. Talk to me about, okay, before we get to like this advice section, if we can call it that, I want to know what you're thinking. I know it's only, again, been like a year, but you've, mentioned that you want to you're trying to pull yourself further and further out, giving, parlaying clients over to your staff, etc. What's your vision for the next, I don't know, 2 years even? Is it to stay in this location, build it up to a certain number of staff and manage it? Is it, hey, I want to get multiple locations? Or talk to me a little bit about your vision here.
Yeah, I've played with both ideas. My main intention was just to fill up with the unit that I have, with the staff that I can get in the space that I have, and just do receptionist work myself, and be able to retire just off of that profit and income. But I've played with the idea. I wasn't sure if I would like having employees or not. So I've played with the idea of expanding, both just expanding the size of the one I have, or opening a second location, but it all just really boils down to, what it looks like mentally for me 5 years down the road with employees. I've never even been a manager somewhere, so I'm not totally sure.
Totally.
I'm totally sure how I feel. Yeah, I know I'm a year in, but it really just boils down to that.
Okay. Now I'm going to ping you for some advice. One is on your original note of hourly versus commission. A, are you glad you did that? And B, would you recommend that?
Yes, I am glad I did that, and I would recommend it. The biggest thing that you need to ask yourself as an owner in this industry is, if all of your staff got up and quit tomorrow, would you be okay? And just because your business is profiting and saving money doesn't mean that that's money that you can just, throw at whatever, or it's not there to spend always. You want to have backup money. And I think that being a new business owner in this industry, I think sometimes people think their business is gaining money, and I think that they have a hard time either not spending it or seeing it as like, I don't know, finding a reason to spend that money. And so I guess that's a big reason. You shouldn't be paying your employees so much that your business is just steadily staying at one amount in your bank account. That's like the biggest thing. That should be going up. That's what's important too. So
totally. Would you recommend business owners add creative grooming to their current offerings?
Yeah, as long as everybody's open to that. Some people just like how there's groomers that just like doing shave downs instead of the fancy cuts. There's people that I'm sure would rather just stick to regular haircuts than creative grooming. But I'm one of those people that's down to try everything once, and I tried creative grooming and I liked that. So
Simple enough. I love it. It's not like hey, I mapped out my financial projections and this is why I do creative grooming. It's like, no, I like it.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, cool. And then my last recommendation question for you is more of a, like, how would you advise, not would you recommend, but how would you advise someone wanting to start their own creative grooming salon, or just even salon from scratch today?
I think it's really important to find people in the industry that are already doing it. You can find other business owners of career paths that are not yours, and they can give you great advice, sure, but it's not the same. It's not the same as finding people that are in this career path as business owners. So I think it's super important to reach out and find people in different cities, in different states, and what, even if you can't go to a seminar, you can definitely find things online to help you out and reach out to people that are already doing it. I think that it's really important. I've got family members that are business owners, and it's just not the same thing to get advice from them in this area.
Makes sense. All right, guys, if you guys want to check out what Heidi and team have going on, their website is absolutely beautiful. Heidi, by the way, I love it. It is colorfulcaninesf.com. And you guys can click that more button up at the top and see a bunch of her information that she tells folks about coloring. It's awesome. It's great. I love it. Heidi, thanks so much for sharing all this about creative grooming as well. I've always been intrigued in it, and honestly, there's not a lot of salons that do it. So I appreciate you kind of opening up the veil a little bit here. And I want to give you a chance to shout out how people can get a hold of you. Maybe that's just through the website or on Facebook, in case they have further questions.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have a Facebook page I'm super active on. And we have even more photos on there than on our website. I definitely need to update the website, but yeah, our Facebook page is just The Colorful Canine. And it's got a cute doodle right on the profile picture, but awesome. That's the biggest one for sure.
I love it. Well, thanks so much for coming on today, Heidi. I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for interviewing me.
Of course. And that's the pod.